my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
So just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses.
Now, there's one thing you might have noticed I don't complain about. Politicians.
Governments don't live together, people live together. Governments, you don't always get a fair word or a fair fight. Well, I've come here to give you either one, or get either one from you.
That's totally taken out of context.
Well, not really.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up,
T-minus 1 minute.
live out the true meaning of its creed.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
T-minus 50 seconds.
I am paying for this microphone, Mr. Every dollar released from taxation
T-minus 40 seconds.
that is spent or invested will help create a new job.
Chivalry is dead, and women killed it.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines.
T-minus 20 seconds.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing ground and in the streets.
10, 9,
We shall fight
8,
in the hills.
6,
We shall never surrender!
3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, welcome to the Problem Solver. Welcome to the Problem Solver Politics live stream. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And today we got a couple of questions we're going to be asking here. mostly of our audience in the progressive community. Basically, we want to know, do you think the party is going to be splintered, is going to be fractured? If you guys watched our video this morning, for those of you that did watch our video this morning, you'll see that we referenced Bernie Sanders. Some would say selling out. Some would say playing politics. Some would say fighting the righteous fight because we vote blue no matter who. Endorsing Joe Biden. And it's ruffled a lot of feathers and made people ask a lot of questions that are unique to Bernie Sanders, because he's kind of been perceived as the revolutionary candidate. One of his biggest claims to fame has been an anti-establishmentarian, populist, independent streak that was sullied, many believe, in 2016 through his endorsement of Hillary Clinton, the establishment, the epitome of establishment Democrat, and then only further sullied to a point of disregard maybe by endorsing Joe Biden. For people like me, I always had a respect for Bernie Sanders because, at least he was consistent with so much two-facedness in Washington and in politics. You get used to a certain kind of charlatan that occupies the post of politician, right? But when you look at Bernie Sanders, man, you can see his public access footage from the 80s was just him thumping the same verses in 1989 that he was thumping in 2019. And you have to respect that. That garners respect, right? But that respect is betrayed very, very quickly when you see him then turn around and endorse the very establishment that he supposedly railed against for so long. So anyway, we want to talk a little bit about that today. That's just my opinion. What's so funny? I was going to say, Cody, tell us what's going on, but I hear him laughing already.
Well, no. Whoa. What's going on?
Oh, you got purple light.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll fix it. I'm going to go fix it.
I think it's the camera. Anyway, though, first thing I want to do is give a big shout out to Emily Kingsley, if I pronounced that right, for joining. Thank you very much. We still need to add more little emotes. We have the Yang emote, and we actually have a Dave Chappelle emote from back the Yang Chappelle time. Anyway, so the reason why we titled this video, or I guess I titled this video, Everyone is a Sellout, because I got some bad news for you guys. This is coming straight from the horse's mouth. Wish it wasn't true, guys. I wish it wasn't true. But Andrew Yang, he is a sellout. Isn't my opinion, guys. This is the opinion of Andrew Yang's current campaign manager, Zach Grumman, who put this tweet out shortly after Bernie Sanders endorsed Joe Biden, which is pretty hilarious. One thing, it's a little bit like F it, mask off territory, where it's just like calling out the Bernie bros, but very interesting tweet from Zach Grumman today. I wasn't expecting this, especially because Zach's normally pretty, I feel like he's the guy. When Andrew Yang was pouring the whipped cream in the person's mouth, was pulling Andrew Yang back, like, don't do this, it looks bad. To come out with this basically...
Oh, this is a fake tweet.
No, it's real. He tweeted this out.
What?
It's ironic. He's trying to call out people who said that Andrew Yang was a sellout for endorsing Joe Biden. My larger point here is that by this point of the cycle, because Joe Biden is just one, he's the top, I guess you know who didn't sell out? Say what you want. Elizabeth Warren didn't sell out. Cory Booker sold out. Kamala Harris sold out. Andrew Yang sold out, I guess. Bernie Sanders sold out, I guess. But hey, Elizabeth Warren didn't. But no, it's really fascinating. Now you see where, like at the end of the day, this is it. Like Joe Biden's going to be the nominee, and if you're going to be caucusing and siding with the Democrats in any sense, you'd have to endorse them. I don't really see. I can see why some people.
I don't think you have to. I think you can be a Democrat and still.
I don't think you could be a Democrat and actively campaign against their nominee.
No, not against it, but I don't think...
At least for this cycle.
You don't have to endorse. Like we talked about that in my video. You could say, look, I'll vote for him, but I'm not going to endorse him.
You could be neutral. I would definitely say it's not really super useful. Because here's the thing. I don't know. I can't really see... It is weird. I'm not a huge Joe Biden guy, but I'm not going to clown on anyone for just endorsing the nominee. Because he's the guy. It's like, I don't know who else I'm going to endorse. I guess no one. Like, Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Joe Biden. I mean... Like I said, by this time, guys, they're all either everyone's a sellout or no one is. I'm closer to no one's a sellout for endorsing Joe Biden. That doesn't take anything. Now, you want to talk about sellouts. Amy Klobuchar announced she was suspending her campaign on a Joe Biden rally stage. I'll just say that. We're talking about sellouts. I mean, a lot of these people are just kind of like, well, it's over, I guess. Hey, look, Vote for Joe. We don't want Trump to win. Vote for it. Isn't. Remember when Beto O'Rourke came out and Joe Biden said, by the way, I'm going to hold Joe Biden to this. Joe Biden promised Beto O'Rourke was going to be like his gun czar, essentially, for gun control. Still waiting on that, but I haven't heard anything about that since. I don't know. I think someone has to tell Joe Biden that he was endorsed by Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang? I don't think he knows yet. I think he only knows Bernie Sanders endorsed him because they're on a live stream together. And I thought this was a really funny tweet earlier. They're definitely, there's some salt. There's some definite, I think now that both campaigns are over, both the Andrew Yang and Bernie Sanders campaigns, they're over. Joe Biden's moving forward, right? We're seeing the salt come back out because there's kind of like no point in playing nice, especially Bernie Sanders are running for president again. And he basically just rolled over and said, well, I give up both times. Like he really never was fighting to
There
change
wasn't
to
a
take over
definitive
anything.
end.
Well, he didn't say, you know what, the hell
There
with
wasn't
it.
a death blow.
He didn't Stacey Abrams it and just be like, I refuse to admit, I refuse to accept defeat. I'm going to just keep going at this all the way. Was it not Stacey Abrams?
Yeah, Stacey Abrams did that, yeah.
I always respect that. I love
it's like
that
us with North
that
Korea.
She just contested it all the way. But I mean, like, there was a little bit in 2016. Bernie Sanders did wait a period of time, but this time, no fighting him, just whatever, dude. Endorse Biden. I don't want Trump either, so get rid of him. Use Biden. It's very interesting to see how, in general, this is something that's kind of normal. I think every single person who's endorsed Joe Biden clowned on him multiple times in the past. I don't think everyone's running against him. It's not like there was camaraderie, especially of all of them with Joe Biden. No one seemed like friends with Joe Biden. People seem friends with other candidates. I do want to bring up, remember when Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders were fighting with each other on the debate
it's hard
stage?
to be friends with
How
somebody
long
who's
ago
old
does that
enough to
seem?
be your dad, right? Actually, I am. My producing partner's old enough to be my
Bernie
dad.
Sanders, I think, is older than Joe Biden, right?
Like he's old enough to be
months,
somebody's
not
dad
much.
who is Andrew Yang's dad. He's old enough to be Andrew Yang's grandpa.
Oh, it is weird that, but I don't know. I thought that was an interesting tweet, so I wanted to highlight that just to show that there's I guess I like salt. Animosity. Would you say there's animosity between the Yang Gang and the Bernie Bros still? There definitely is a lot of
I think there's animosity between the Burners and everybody because the Burners are psychotic. Like they are the redheaded stepchild that doesn't know how to behave nicely at the party. And that's just it. Now, to a certain extent, it's like when you're in that group, okay, it becomes a badge of honor. But at the end of the day, I don't know anybody that doesn't either fear getting in the way of the Bernie Bros, and that's the way they want it. Or, I mean, you got to remember, like, the Antifa guys that got busted for saying, like, we want to put Democrats up against the wall when we take over. Those were all Bernie campaign managers and stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know any group that generally and loosely affiliates themselves with the Burners. I mean, I'm friends with lots of progressives.
I think you're over. I think for whatever reason you're trying to build up. No, dude, Bernie Sanders supporters aren't like terrorists. It's just that I think they're definitely. You know what? I think Bernie Sanders supporters are at their strongest. They're in their natural habitat, like most campaigns, like the Yang Gang on the internet. So yeah, a lot of Twitter fights, a lot of arguments come from Bernie Sanders supporters. I don't know. I think the bigger thing is Bernie Sanders essentially campaigned for 8 years and. Dude, getting near the end of this second one, right? Or not 8 years, so like 5 years straight, though. He's basically running for president. Because he basically campaigned the entire first term of Trump, and he had that for... So by the end of it, people were definitely... That's why one of the reasons why I want to highlight this tweet. It feels like there was definitely a lot of things left unsaid in the 2019 primary near the end. And now that it's over, people might feel a little more comfortable coming out and saying some of those things they held back on saying. I feel like Zach Grumman was definitely sitting there white-knuckling his, desk, like, I can't believe these Bernie people are getting... A lot of people, I will say one thing about Andrew Yang, more so than other people. I generally speaking, I'm not big on this because I feel like, I don't know, dude, he's doing pretty well for himself. I don't got to go out there and defend him, but a lot of people will jump up and defend Andrew Yang, almost always. So it's kind of funny to see Zach Grumman, I guess, was biting his tongue a little bit, but now he's like, nope, that's it. I'm done. I'm letting people know how I really feel about this. But also, it leads me to the next thing I want to say. Now that Bernie Sanders, like I said, I guess probably, but I would say 95%. He's not running for president again. I mean, just with his age, by the time it'll come up, I mean, all these things weigh in. What if Biden wins? I'm thinking sort of primary Biden. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, or Biden's VP, I guess, according to Joe Biden, but there's a lot of weird things here. It definitely seems like now that it's kind of over for Bernie. basically it is what it is now. He's a Vermont senator.
Well, he's already written a book. He's already gotten rich.
But
He
yeah,
already has his cabin in the
his
woods.
last couple few years in Vermont now. I mean, a lot of politicians get to that stage. It's where Joe Biden would have been if he wasn't the nominee. Just kind of done, just retired, planned it out. And a lot of people, I think, you're going to see more people feeling free to take a lot more shots at Bernie Sanders and his supporters now, because it's kind of like you were talking about these awful, terrifying Bernie. It's different now. I think it's the opposite, where it's like Bernie supporters, they don't exist really. I mean, like they exist, but I mean, like, Bernie Sanders isn't going to run for president again. He's not running for president now. Like, the political clout of Bernie Sanders supporters kind of evaporated overnight. And I would say part of it's unfortunately not overnight, but we're in the afternoon still, but just part of it's just due to Bernie's age. Like, there's no like next step for Bernie from this. He's probably just gonna wind down and retire, probably still pass some bills, do his stuff, try to get Medicare for all through. He's still like, that, but it's just not like another presidential run coming up. It's not like Bernie Sanders all of a sudden in his 90s going to reinvent his political career. It is kind of like now anything you were holding back, why wait? I mean, like, what's the downside from criticizing Bernie Sanders right now? Seriously, think about it. He just kind of embarrassingly endorsed Joe Biden. Because of everybody who ran, you could say Andrew Yang was kind of an outsider. I guess a little bit. Bernie Sanders had been railing for 5 years about how awful. I mean, I think AOC had a pretty good way of putting it. They thought it was insulting when Hillary Clinton said they should lower the Medicare age to 50. And that was, like, not a replacement for Medicare for all. And then Joe Biden wants to have it lowered to 60. And, like what is this? Like, Joe Biden's worse than Hillary Clinton, and it took less time for him to endorse him. It is interesting. It is a little bit something. Because I would say maybe Tulsi Gabbard's beef's more with Hillary. She says the establishment, I think, is mostly with Hillary. Of all the candidates, I will say a little bit that Bernie Sanders seemed the most. I think he's been on record the longest time opposing exactly Joe Biden. Like, opposing that brand of Democratic politics. He's been on record doing it for like 5 years straight now. That's the one thing that's kind of weird about it. But I also, like I say, politically, I'm not going to like say, oh, I can't believe he did that or how dare he. It's like, well, yeah, dude, if he wants a political future as a Democrat, he kind of has to. Elizabeth Warren's interesting. I want to see what happens with Elizabeth Warren. I think Elizabeth Warren's making this Biden's a joke, it's not going to go anywhere move. And I'm not going to say anything about Joe Biden. Joe Biden can do whatever he wants. I don't care. He's going nowhere. Because I don't know why else would Elizabeth Warren basically just kind of not say a whole lot and just kind of stay back. She didn't endorse Bernie. That was hilarious.
Because there's no upside to it. What's the upside if you... Well, because I think she's trying to lead the charge of the progressives. She was trying to outflank Bernie Sanders throughout the entire campaign season. And I think she saw that there's no upside to endorsing Joe Biden ahead of the point at which all of them have to. And there's probably a lot of people that are thinking, oh, well, Elizabeth Warren's the true progressive because she never sold out to the establishment, and who knows, maybe she'll be the one that's tapping into that progressive, vein in the party in order to use and abuse them and their work ethic to advance her career. Because that's really all that ever happens to progressives, let's be honest. I mean, they get courted by establishment candidates who say, yeah, no, I totally believe in your values. Yeah, I believe in everything you think about immigration. I believe in everything you think about healthcare. And yeah, dude, I'm with you. In fact, if you can just get me some votes and just volunteer for me and knock doors for me and go out and work for me for free, once I win, then I'm going to represent you in Washington. And then they go out and they work for free for all these establishment Democrats who then don't give a crap about them once they get elected. I think two of the most used and abused groups out there, are really good-hearted Christians on the right who feel social issues are a lot more important than they really are, who will rally behind candidates and work really, really hard for candidates who ultimately don't do anything for them once in office. On the right, I see it amongst like really devout Christians that put their heart into things over social issues that get used and abused. And on the left, it's progressives. You know what I'm saying? They just get absolutely lied to by their party worse than any other section of their party. And you could work for a candidate every single day, knocking doors for him for 8 hours a day. And within 3 weeks of him being elected or her being elected, that official won't even remember your name. You know what I'm saying? And that's just a fact. I've seen it happen time and time again. And I think a lot of progressives are very good-hearted. I think some of them are punks, but most of them are actually very good-hearted. And it hurts me to see good-hearted people's best intentions, and especially their work ethic and their time, be abused and disrespected like that. And I kind of feel like that's a little bit what Bernie Sanders has done and what most progressives do. progressive candidates at least do.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
okay.
I've seen it firsthand in elections that I've done.
I mean, but like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know how unique it is, I guess. Because, yeah, but I don't know how unique it is. I think that kind of just happens across the board.
No, each party has its version of it. Like I said.
No, but I think even more so, like, just in general, it's just kind of what happens.
Okay.
Either you recognize, like, okay, this is the game. This is what's happening. Or they kind of use you and abuse you and spit you out. That's politics.
Yeah.
That's the fun part. But how about this? Speaking of. Remember I was talking before? I do firmly believe this. I do believe that it's just it's kind of what it is, right? Like Bernie Sanders, or I guess he's been taken down a couple notches. He's back-to-back failed presidential runs. He's been forced to bow before Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. I'm not a big fan of. I'm not the biggest. Like I probably wouldn't vote for Bernie myself. I don't dislike him that much. I definitely think he's more capable of a. I would prefer him probably to like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden in a lot of ways. And he lost to them now back-to-back years. or back-to-back cycles. That's pretty rough. And now we're seeing, now it's worth noting she's done this before, but now we're seeing I love this, Brianna Joy Gray. She is I believe they list her as campaign press secretary. I thought she was communications director, something like that. She says, with the utmost respect for Bernie Sanders, who is an incredible human being and a genuine inspiration, I don't endorse Joe Biden. I supported Bernie Sanders because he backed ideas like Medicare for all, canceling all student debt, and a wealth tax. Biden supports none of these. Basically, that's how loyal I am. Well, I'm done. Campaign's over. Don't care what you say. I'm going to, because it's one thing to just be like, okay, I don't really like endorsing Biden. It's another thing to run out to Twitter to get a statement out saying, hold on a minute there, guys. I just want to let you know, even though I work for Bernie Sanders and believed in Bernie Sanders and all that crap, now that he lost and he endorsed Joe Biden, to hell with that. I'm not voting for Joe Biden. It's just, I don't know, a lot of loyalty we're seeing, and I think it's what happens when you're at the end of your career, and it's kind of like, it's like the old king who just lost a war. Everyone's looking at him like, oh, wait a minute, like this is it, dude. He's not gonna get more powerful. I'm not gonna have more influence than this. There isn't gonna be, oh, watch out, you don't want to cross Bernie Sanders. Why? Why do you not want to cross Bernie Sanders right now? I believe he still serves. He's going to go back to just serving as
who's Bernie Sanders? He's
Senate.
a no-name old man senator now. I shouldn't say no name, but he's a non.
There's no.
Now that he's no longer a president, he's not a thought leader anymore.
Well, yeah.
Okay, because to be a thought leader in a movement, you have to have power and impetus. It's just like you say. The only thing that really makes government the authority is when it convinces the people that it's the only rightful executor of violence. You know what I'm saying? That's the point at which a government has control, is when everybody unanimously agrees that only the government can execute violence. Okay? And in a movement only rallies behind somebody when they believe there's a credible threat that they have a way of implementing their policies or implementing their influence or doing something. Bernie Sanders doesn't have that anymore. He's no longer a candidate. He's never passed anything off in the Senate. He's an old man that's had a heart attack who basically wrote his book. There's not a book in the future. So, I mean, I think just instinctively, the progressive movement is moving on from him now. They just don't even realize it yet because they're thinking through rose-colored lenses of how beautiful those campaigns were.
They're literally saying it out loud right now that.
Yeah, but Bernie Sanders isn't going to lead any more charges.
No, what I'm saying is I think I read a quote from a Bernie Sanders supporter, coming like a student called like a campus supporter, not like a paid staffer, but still Bernie, who basically said it was never really about Bernie, it was about the progressive ideas he had, which is, by the way, I mean, verbatim, what his communications or press secretary just said, Brianna Joy Gray. I mean, like, press secretary, also a pretty big surrogate, loud person on Twitter. I see this Twitter account a lot. I've read, I think, or seen her quoted in articles a lot. She's a pretty big, prominent voice for Bernie Sanders. Like, this was one of those blue checkmark accounts that came out whenever Bernie Sanders needed defending for the most part. Now, basically saying, kind of mirroring what we saw the person say earlier. It was never about Bernie. She supported Bernie when he was backing these ideas. Now that it appears he isn't, he's supporting Joe Biden, support's withdrawn. It really does feel like a lot of people were supporting the progressive platform through Bernie Sanders, as opposed to Bernie Sanders and his progressive platform. And I don't know, man. I don't think it's good for Bernie that some of his most loudest, most powerful defenders are saying, dude, I like Bernie, but I like Medicare for all more. I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden now. Well, yeah, who really is that they're defending him still? It'll be weird. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm imagining a kind of rough next little while for Bernie Sanders here, just in the sense that he's going to not become like I don't want to say butt of a lot of jokes. He won't be a joke. He's still the longest serving independent in the Senate, which I think is cool to be the longest serving independent. But
is he independent? Nah, I reject that. He sold out.
Technically, he would be the
He's
longest
not
serving
an independent. He's been a registered Democrat for 8 years, and he's endorsed the
But
Democrat
I'm just
establishment
saying,
candidate both times he ran for president.
On paper, he is the longest serving
No,
independent.
on paper, he is no different than any other Democrat that ran for president and ultimately endorsed the establishment candidate. If you were an alien looking at his record from space, you would think he's just another Democrat. Now he's got wild hair, and he sits up there and he gets really angry, and he thumps on desks a lot. But at the end of the day, he is literally just like any other Democrat who ran his campaign until he saw the writing on the wall. And when he quit, he endorsed the very establishment that he had spent his entire campaign railing against. To me, this is the epitome of sellout.
I just think it is what it is. I'm talking about
Okay.
longer. It is what it is, man. That's what happens when your career ends. That's what happens when you go for it twice, fail both times. What's left? Like, seriously, how old is he? Almost 80 years old. What does he do now? Remember Mike Gravel? Remember when he had his meme presidency run and a couple 19-year-olds took over his Twitter account and renamed it? Remember when that happened?
Who was that?
Exactly. No, come on. Mike Gravel, he was serving from Alaska. I believe at one point he served as the House leader of the House or the Senate. Honestly, I'm blank. I'm not the most adept to my Mike Gravel knowledge. But he ran for president. He said he just wanted to go in the debate stage. He was like in his mid to late 80s. He said he wanted to just go in the debate stage to rail into the modern Democratic Party because they suck. And they screwed him, actually, and would not let him go on the debate stage. So it's a whole thing. But
Okay.
I don't know. It's sad when it happens. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is. It's one of the reasons why it's a lot different. Like, not every campaign ends the same way. Andrew Yang is probably more relevant and has got a brighter political future now than he ever did when he was running for president. For some people, it's just not the case. For some people, it's that. Well, it was nice. Thanks for your input, but that's it. We're done. Moving on. Other people are going to place you.
Huh, interesting.
That's what I think. Because Andrew Yang, he's more relevant now than he was when he was running for president. I do not think... Let's go forward to like a few months after the presidential election cycle. Like, let's go to just the beginning of 2021. I have to imagine Andrew Yang is going to be a whole lot more relevant than Bernie Sanders at the beginning of 2021. Unless, he's, put into, a cabinet position and Joe Biden went. You know what I mean? Like, barring some reasons why, but just the track it's on right now. Senator who ran for president, didn't get elected, and then but say Joe Biden wins or loses if he doesn't get brought into a cabinet or whatever. Andrew Yang's probably going to be a bigger name, more relevant character, talking about things that are more relevant.
Well, especially if you can get some of these pilots off the ground. I mean, we're looking at some major influx from Jack Dorsey money. And as a tech entrepreneur, of course, Andrew Yang's in the club and could get a hold of that for some of his Humanity Forward campaign, I'm sure. But with talk of him running, I think running for just serving one good solid term as mayor of New York and then regrouping and thinking what he should do would be genius, especially if he could get a hold of some really big chunks of money from some of these billionaires who are willing to risk something on it and run some pilots like in 2 or 3 Midwestern cities, 2 or 3 cities per state on the West Coast, and then some along the southeastern and the northeastern seaboard. If he had just 1,000 test citizens all receiving that $1,000 a month for 2 or 3 years straight, and then there was some, it only costs about $40,000 to $100,000 to run a study that's officially done by a major university or a scientific organization to glean official data. Well, that's not a lot, especially if you've got an influx of $10 million from Elon Musk or $10 million from Jack Dorsey, who's committed 28% of his personal wealth. I think it's like $1 billion of Square money, he said. You know what I'm saying?
Something like that.
So 1% of that is $1 million. Okay. So if he gets 1% chunk of whatever Jack Dorsey's given out in order to fund a UBI pilot, oh my gosh, with $1 million, you can afford a lot of $1,000 a month paychecks and 2 studies to actually track the recipients of that universal basic income to glean data from it. And imagine if you were able to say like, hey, of the 1,000 people that received $1,000 a month, we were able to do some studies, and compared to the regular cross section, they had a 33% lower suicide rate, 43% less stress, and their BMI was 10% less. You know, I mean, like, imagine the amount of data that could be gleaned from just a really effective pilot of UBI.
By
the way, I prefer to call it El Salario Universal.
I feel like it's tough to like. You can't really pilot it. I feel like it's the problem because it's hard to like you'd have to pilot it with everybody unconditionally.
Then choose a city.
But even
throw a dart against the board and say 1,000 people in this 1,000 person town. This entire city gets UBI.
It's a lot different though than like that would work if like you walled the city in and no one can leave or enter.
Which sounds completely appropriate to me, especially if there's guards at the gate with semi-automatics.
Okay, because here's the thing that could happen. Like if you have a large enough states, like I said, like New York, right? Well, there'd be a lot of places within traveling. I was going to say driving distance, but if you're living in New York City, perhaps just like train or whatever distance, right? But within an easy traveling distance, you're going to be able to get to places where they don't have a UBI. And, well, I think New York City's maybe a good example because the cost of living is so high in New York City, even with an extra $1,000 a month, if you took a train like a couple cities over, you're probably roughly about comparably like purchasing power.
Yeah.
But the idea being is if you do have, you know, a regional area where just a specific city has increased purchasing power across the board, it could lead to some results that would be not indicative of an entire country. Because it'd be a lot harder than for people getting UBI in Chicago to really leverage that against people in their immediate vicinity. I mean, yeah, of course, you might have people living close to the Mexican or the Canadian border. Probably more Canadian than Mexican border just because, no, both borders actually, right? Where, like, you're getting UBI and people in those countries aren't. So you could just hop over and the purchasing power is even higher, right? That could happen. But I don't know. I think it's a tough thing about UBI in general is that it's tough to just – there's some things you can kind of pilot in smaller areas. I feel like UBI is harder to pilot in a smaller area because it's like, well, yeah, if we just gave a small group of people a bunch of money – not a bunch, but just money unconditionally, flatly – that would improve their lives. Yes, but we have to see one of the biggest when there's some people that are just like, oh, money wouldn't help people. I don't get those. A lot of UBI naysayers are more, can it be done? Can it be distributed? Do we have enough money? And I feel like doing small pilots is another thing that's tough about it. It doesn't really prove that. Like people say, okay, I'm sure it works on a small scale. Can we roll it out on a large scale? A small pilot doesn't help as much. Oh, and I want to give another shout out. Oh, thank you very much. Another big shout out to James Abrams, $50.
Yeah, James is back.
He said, what's up, guys? Going on? I've seen a lot of crazy stuff on the news. I'm so pissed my Iowa and New Jersey load to Home Depot will let me drop today. Anyway, what's good with you guys? I see it the stream with Biden. I'm confused. Didn't hear UBI. Yang gang.
Wait, first off, so his load didn't drop as in... They didn't let you drop today? Or is it because Home Depot's closing Thursday? I got to tell you, I just came back from Home Depot before this. That's where I bought all of the loads for these awesome shelves. We're going to have to do another studio tour once you guys see the shelves that I've built for all of our equipment. But anyway, they do have a lot of weird hours now. I've noticed they're closing 3 hours earlier, and everywhere I go, I have to stand in these little 10-foot box increments away from everybody else. And they only let 100 people in the store at a time, so there's a big long line to get in. It goes pretty quickly. They just, are making sure they're circling people in and out, and there's only 100 people in the store. So I'm wondering what he meant when he said that his load wouldn't let him drop today. But what's good with us? We're good, streaming like we always do. And he said he saw the live stream with Biden. I assume he's talking about the live stream with Biden and Sanders. All right.
Still, like, just look at the visual. It's just so weird to me. Like, yeah, that happened.
It's like two people that don't understand the box they're talking into.
Well, no, not even in that sense. Just in the sense of like.
Well, actually, Bernie Sanders seems to be more of a live streamer, but.
Man, I'm not talking about like their tech capacities.
Yeah.
Late February, people were laughing at Joe Biden, saying, why hasn't he dropped out yet? He didn't win any of the first 3 states. He's a bum. He should leave the race. Oh, my God. What a clown. Bernie Sanders. Remember when they had to fire Chris Matthews because Chris Matthews went on a tirade? He said it was like the Nazis marching into Paris when Bernie Sanders won Nevada. Remember that happened just a few months ago? And now we see Bernie Sanders hat in hand. I'm once again begging you to vote for Joe Biden now. I mean, it's crazy. It's like, dude, you were in the driver's seat like weeks ago, 5-6 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden it's, well, guess we got to vote for Joe Biden. Shucks, nothing that could be done. It's so weird that happened. I mean, it just shows these things move fast. I mean, life moves fast, really, but man, that is just still thinking about that. Chris Matthews feels dumb now. Got fired for no reason. He literally got fired for going on a tirade about Bernie Sanders after he won Nevada because he was, I don't know, Chris Matthews apparently. I think you go off on social. Oh, my grandparents, Chris Matthews. Oh my God, man, he had a cow over Bernie Sanders.
Well, and the funny thing though is he's been supporting socialism his entire career. Then all of a sudden he gets mad. Like what? He's been slaving away for the socialists for 20 years, You know, and all of a sudden, the second he goes against him, they kick him out of the club. I mean, it's hilarious. And we all know that was covering up. Actually, nobody brought up the hypocrisy of the fact that Joe Biden skates completely free over like sniffing up chicks. Meanwhile, apparently Chris Matthews
the allegations just moved on to the point now where it's like that's just kind of like part of like the case. Like, remember, he does this too, and because that's interesting too. Also worth noting, I'm just gonna say, just throwing it out there, chronologically, series of events. When Andrew Yang endorsed Joe Biden, there was no. I was going to say there's no credible allegations of, like, sexual assault, but there kind of was anyway. But, like, I mean, like, the new one hadn't came up yet. It was the old stuff that everyone had kind of just agreed to get past, I guess. But then Bernie Sanders just never addressing the allegations and then just endorsing them, which is kind of weird. Because I'm pretty sure, who was definitely addressing the Tara Reade allegations? Another reason why we get back to why I think you're going to see a lot of former Bernie Sanders supporters. Dude, who was, like, leading the charge that, hey, these Tara Reade allegations are being swept under the rug by like all these Me Too and Time's Up movements just turning their back because they like Joe Biden, right? Who was banging that drum? It was Bernie Sanders' own supporters. And I could be wrong. Let me know in chat. I don't think Bernie ever really came out as a strong stance like publicly about it. I don't think he came out and said, hey, knock it off, guys. Don't keep talking about these. They're fake. Or if he came out and said, yeah, Joe Biden, why is this not being discussed more? But it just, I don't know, like that's kind of, I think, another reason why it's a little, I'm seeing a little bit different reactions when, one, the timing was crazy, but still, like, there's a lot of people that are like, Bernie, what, I was just, like, we were just talking a week ago about why this Joe Biden guy's awful, like, all laughing it up, and now you're endorsing him? Like, what's going on? And I don't know, I kind of feel that sucks, but, again, I don't really, maybe he couldn't have, but again, I just feel like Joe Biden kind of, he's the man. You gotta endorse him. You really do. If you wanna keep going in this process. The biggest thing too is if you want to continue in your quest against Donald Trump, then the next thing to do is that's another thing too. Is keep in mind I feel like if it was a different president in office and there was less of a movement just against the president, you might see, like, maybe before Donald Trump actually got elected, I think Bernie Sanders held off on endorsing Hillary because he just kind of thought she's gonna win. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to throw my hat in the ring. There's no way this Trump guy wins. Maybe now he's like, I don't think that's gonna happen now. I do need to throw my hat. I do need to help the candidate because Trump is the incumbent and he has a chance. Maybe that is it. I don't know. And that way, Timothy Pitts, $5 super chat. Said, thanks to stimulus, I can finally support you guys. Listened to a long time, but I'm a writer, so I'm broke. You think COVID will make new swing states? Very interesting. I guess short answer, yes. Very interesting, man, because there is a lot of states that are probably going to start dropping some party BS and are just going to be like, how do we address this coronavirus? Nothing else will matter.
We can't afford to go through this economic shutdown again. And if we learned anything, we learned that the states that got through it okay were the ones that were able to have bipartisan consensus and support. So we got to cut the BS. And I think real leaders will rise through the ashes, especially ones that not became famous, but grew in prominence because they were actively engaged with the people. And we're giving updates and we're so on and so forth. Our mayor is freaking live streaming every day saying, look, this is what's come down from the state. These are the rules we have to obey. This is what's come down from the county. These are rules we have to obey. These are the ones we're not subject to and are from cities that are having bigger problems than us. We don't have these problems. Calm down here. Be more aware here. These people that are kind of pulling mini Cuomos, I think are definitely going to be rising out of the ashes like phoenixes. Or Phoenixy, or whatever the plural of Phoenix is. So, Timothy, I don't know if it'll make new swing states. I think it will definitely shake up the electorate, though. And James Abrams, with another super chat. 1,300 miles, got stuck 2 days in Iowa, went home Saturday, 6 p.m. in Baltimore, Maryland. 4 a.m. left today, got there. Oh, so he's a Baltimore boy. 7:45 a.m., tried to drop off at D.C. 3 times. New Jersey, North Carolina, now New Jersey to Indiana. If I can get load off tomorrow, do Wednesday food. I know we'll take that. Sanders ran out. I don't know what Sanders ran out. But this is the other thing.
Because they're just kind of like
But this is what blows my mind about truckers. Look at this, dude. Guys from Baltimore, 1,300 miles. You forget. Like, I remember I had to ship my Honda VTX 1300 as a motorcycle, and I moved to New York. And I remember that I was looking up shipping services, and for about $500, you can have somebody tow it across the United States of America. And I remember thinking like, so it'll be here in like 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. And like the guy called me. He'd left like Los Angeles in the morning, and then he calls me from like St. Louis that night or something. I was like, what the heck? And I wasn't thinking about it. I was like, well, yeah, he'd pick up a load of like 8 different vehicles and then just start driving. And if you really are making a beeline for New York, because you don't care about stopping along the way, and you're going a solid like 65 miles per hour for, 14 hours or whatever, you can cover like 800, like I think he crossed the United States in like 2.5 or like less than 3 days. I remember it was like, I ordered my motorcycle on a Monday morning. And by like Wednesday night, I was riding it in New York City. And it just like blew my mind how far and fast these long haul truckers will actually go.
Well, one thing too, I think James was talking about, which is interesting. I think actually, I saw Fred was in the chat earlier. Sorry, dude, I didn't call you. I saw your name out there earlier. I don't know if he's still in the chat, but I saw him talking about this a little bit. There definitely seems to be some things heating up right now with the trucking industries and just a lot of shutdowns. And I think he's referencing, if you can, someone gets bit liberally, but I guess, yeah. So I guess places are turning away loads. Like we can't take this right now. We don't have any, I don't know if it's space or whatever it is, but yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
That's crazy though, because you don't want shortages or anything else. That's going to cause mondo panic.
I don't know all the reasons behind it, but I do remember I've been hearing some like there's something going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. So James, if you got some inside info,
but
let us know. Also, why are they turning away these loads?
I also wanted something else. Someone going back to going back to Timothy asked about making new swing states. I want to show you guys this. A lot of you guys probably saw this already, but this is blowing. Okay, so today, 2 major coalitions of states came forward to basically roll out their own reopening plans for their states. This is crazy to me. So first of all, one thing I'm going to say, but put a lot of flame on Andrew Cuomo and the New York state-led one. Doesn't have a cool name. It's just states from New York. This is the Western States Pact, which is California, Oregon, and Washington. Basically, these 3 states are going to be working together to strategically kind of reopen the 3 states from the coronavirus lockdowns. I do not know. Tomorrow, we'll get the actual details tomorrow. Yeah. Some of the things I'm hearing about here. One thing that is interesting to me is this notion that, I mean, if they come out tomorrow and say, yeah, we're going to have interstate travel between these 3 states opened up while still kind of like restricting our borders from other states, that would be insane, 1. But 2, some of the language in here. This first one, I assume they don't mean it the way I'm reading it because that'd be kind of crazy. But one of the first things they're going to do with this is our residents' health comes first. As home to 1 in 6 Americans and gateway to the rest of the world, the West Coast has an outsized stake in controlling and ultimately defeating COVID-19. Now, are they saying that like, hey, look, in these areas, health comes first, no matter what. Whatever we have to do for the health of our citizens, we'll do it. Basically,
that kind of freaky.
Does health,
so anything in the name of health?
But this is what I'm saying. Does health come first inside of these 3 states, or does the health of these 3 states come before the health of the nation? Is that what they're saying? I don't think they're saying that. I think they're just saying we're going to do what we want to do to help people, which makes sense. It's more logical. But it is really interesting to see. While we have this going on, we also have a very similar thing going on right now.
Emerald Miner asks, can we get a solid South pact?
That's
like, the South will rise
here's
again.
Here's the next one. We now have 7. So a 7th state has joined on since earlier today. But we have 7 states in the East Coast that are doing this. We have New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Delaware. They're doing the same thing. They're all going to group together and basically kind of have their own, I guess, what would you call it, like a soft opening of the country in this little region. But it's very interesting to see on both coasts, very integral parts. I mean, the coast, not the coast, but where New York and a lot of these states are, Delaware, New Jersey, stuff like that. That's a pretty interesting influential part of the East Coast and the literal entire West Coast. I mean, from the bottom of California to the top of the entire Western Coast is an one alliance. It's interesting to see what happens from here. I mean, we have 2, what do you call these? Alliances brewing within the United States. Today at Donald Trump's press, whatever you call it, so I was going to say press rally, he was banging on and on again about how he's the president and the president has sovereign authority. It's like, hold up, what's going on exactly? Are we drawing sides right now? Like, it's really.
Well, I'm loving this.
The entire West Coast is pretty powerful and influential if it bands together. I will say that. And don't forget, there's one wrinkle in here. First of all, we got to ask: do you think the Islamic Republic of Iran will be okay with Oregon and Washington joining our revolution?
Well, this is what I was gonna ask you. First off, I'm loving that all of these states are starting to pack together, because now with the excessive power of the federal government and the media having excessive power over our lives, now you're getting this new brand of federalism where the states are banding together once again, saying, look, we need to rebel against the fourth branch of government and, the legislative branch of government. And so the second and the fourth branches of government are misbehaved. So we're going to unionize and limit the power of their government. It's like, all they need are new articles of confederation, and we will be reliving like the 1770s all over again, or the 1780s.
What would be different is because now that it truly is, post Manifest Destiny, we have Alaska, which is Moving on, forget that. What I'm trying to say is it's different now because we wouldn't have a north and south. Those are going to be east and west. And there'd be the entire middle of the country up for grabs. How far west do you think?
Or it might be the coastal elites versus the middle. It would be a coast versus center.
We would never ally with the New Yorkers. Never.
Oh, come on, dude! Look at Trump's impeachment committee. It was all wealthy elitist left coastists.
Who cares?
And wealthy elitist right coastists.
Well, because the most influential politicians.
Coasters, I mean.
The most influential politicians. Sorry, guys, we don't live in these two states. Yeah, California and New York have some of the most influential politicians because they're just big, wealthy, influential states. That's why.
Okay, so look, I got a question for you from the chat.
If Iowa was as big as California, made as much money as California, produced as much as California, shipped as much as California, there'd be a lot of Iowa politicians that are making a lot of moves because they're in control of it's not like that. The reason why these politicians rise up, it's because they represent the district of San Francisco or Oakland or parts of Los Angeles. It's big, really dense, influential areas with people that know people who can, it's good. When you're part of one of the 3 or 4 rural districts in a rural state, yeah, dude, sorry, they don't put you on the big panels. If you're really good, they probably do, but I don't know.
Hey, so Timothy Pitts asks, is Cal Exit still a thing? We still keep getting comments from the Islamic Republic of Iran every day on our video about the Cal Exit president, the future president of the new Republic of California, addressing directly the Islamic Republic of Iran. Every day we still get 2 or 3 new comments from fellow children of God in the Islamic Republic. And you wonder if it's compulsory over there. In order for the government to install the repeater or the DSL line in Iran, you must at least make 10 comments a day that are pro Iranian. I don't know what the rule is, but it's kind of funny because we were getting all kinds of comments on that video from Iran. It's pretty hilarious. So Timothy Pitts asks, is Cal Exit still a thing? Yep, it's still a thing. They haven't given up. And then he continues to state, Cody, and I think you'll like this one. He said, I'd hate to fight you guys in the Civil War. You know what? That's a good position to be in. It's better to be feared than loved. I do believe some great philosopher said, I don't know if it was Sun Tzu or if it was Machiavelli, but he said it's better to be feared than loved. I'm pretty sure that's Machiavelli. I don't know if it was in The Prince or if it was in one of his other plays like The Mandrake or something, but I'm pretty sure he said it's better to be feared than loved. So the fact that Timothy Pitts does not want to fight us in the Civil War, I'm totally down with that. And by the way, this Civil War would be the stupidest thing known to man because you'd have a bunch of soy boys and their man buns, with the clothing that's meant to look homeless, running after a bunch of dudes who don't care what they look like and that have built their own AR-15s in their backyard. You know what I'm saying? One side has guns and knows how to use it while the other side is going to throw their vegan hamburger at you.
What side is that?
Oh, I wonder which side, Cody.
Sorry.
Oh, I wonder which side.
I feel like you have some weird ideas of who's going to be fighting who.
The man buns will not triumph.
But what's the man bun state?
What do you mean what the man bun state is? All the emasculated people that keep on giving up their rights in the blue states.
What's the blue states? Okay, well,
California's turning into a man bun state.
Blue states got rural parts. California's got rural. How many guns we got in California?
Yeah, but we're ruled by one city.
How many? You know how many
Pan
guns?
Am is Sacramento.
You know how many guns I actually got in New York State? You look at the whole state. They got guns in these states, man. Just because they're blue, they got guns. It isn't all urban.
Okay, it'll be county by county.
What?
And the militias will be county militias.
Is all of it? Is all of Illinois one giant Chicago, or is there like a lot of the state that's a lot less rural, a lot less urban than that? I'm just saying, man. Like that's
Look. Dog.
A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that like the downtown urban hipster district of like one city in a state is like, see, that state would suck in the Civil War. It's like, dude, they got bases in that state. They got like, how about
Cody?
How about this?
Look, when Jesus comes and
San
he's leading the charge,
San Diego, doesn't matter what you think about the San Diego college kids. We got military installations in San Diego. That's what tips the scales. Anyway, by the way,
we got two things. I got super chat from James Abram. Yeah, the Sanders and Biden live stream and ran out chat space, LOL. And yeah, I don't have water or food, so they make you wait if you don't have food or water or mask. I do pick that up, but I got a whole trailer of utility carts waiting on water. Oh man, jeez.
Yeah, that's crazy though. So they're turning people away who don't have like the bare. I'm telling you,
that's interesting.
There's some things about this coronavirus thing going on right now which are kind of like.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do with it? Because a trucker can't.
But like, just think of like,
can't just detach it and leave it in the parking lot.
That's a good question. Tell us, but just
what are you going to drive the 1,300 miles back to say, oh, they wouldn't accept your load?
Just
pay me 50 cents a mile for each one.
But beyond that, I just think I want to note this. There's a lot of stuff going on right now that's like almost kind of. Imagine a time, just not during war or whatever, right? Where like truckers who don't have like food and water and essential like medicines are being turned away. Like the other day, someone was asking me about the idea of moving states, and I'm like, are you like? I don't think American citizens are allowed to just move from one state to another right now. Without, I'm sure you have to go to the government and say, oh, can I apply for my moving license? Like, there's so many things that are just gone overnight, where it's just. Things are just called non-essential and can't be sold in some states. There's that awful video of the guy, it's in England, but there's a guy in England, and the police kick his door in because it sounds like there's people in his apartment. And there is. He's just in there by himself.
Yeah, he's watching Scarface.
Like there was people in there. They literally, the door's busted in. They broke their way into his apartment to harass him for it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on like that.
Well, somebody made an interesting comment.
We're sitting at home and you don't see it all the time, but... It's really crazy.
I got a super chat, another comment. It passed by too quickly, so I can't give credit to whoever said it. It passed by too quickly. But they made an interesting point. They said neither side can manufacture anything. I don't know. I disagree. I think the conservatives and the Republicans know how to use tools more than the soy boy man bunners. They know how to use.
It's going to be
know how to use apps.
It's going to be a regional conflict.
You can't throw an iPhone at a guy that's got a Colt 45.
It's not a Twitter war. It's a real life war. It's going to be between regions. People are going to be like, well, California's a big, powerful, influential, wealthy state.
Dude, I'm part of the North County Mountain Men.
Because the Los Angeles people are too soy boy, we're not going to help them. We're just going to get wiped out by Texas. Like, it doesn't make it. There'll be regional conflicts, man. You'll have regional allies. We're not going to have political allies. I don't think California's going to fracture into 7 tiny states and fight each other. It's going to be a regional conflict. There'd be some ideological things. People would be kicked out. Trust me. I'm not going to act like there'd be none, but people would probably learn to agree on things when it's, hey, we need to make sure California doesn't get taken over by the other people. What'd be weird though is there'd be so much subversion coming from within both sides. People from both sides would be constantly working. I just don't think it's going to be as black as white. It's not going to be like a Twitter fight where it's like these Empress soy boy man buns go up against the badass dudes with the boomer memes on face. It's not like that. Like, it's actually like people that are living in like cities and towns.
You're describing heaven.
Counties and regions for the most part don't hate all their neighbors and probably prefer their neighbors over someone from another state who might be a little bit closer to them politically.
Not me. I would walk and I make them declare allegiance.
In Civil War, a lot of the
house burns.
No. A lot of the phony nonsense we argue about would go away if there was like existential threat to your. It would be weird. States would become homelands. That would be weird. I would definitely, if I thought California was under threat, but that's my homeland, California.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm talking about. So we need to bring that manliness back. Man, that people call the toxic masculinity so long that having a homeland, like I fight for my people. What would we call the North LA County militia?
We'll get back to that. We'll get to the super chats.
Super chat. I still say the North, the North LA Mountain Men. That'd be cool. So anyway, Christoph Cunningham, and I want to get your opinion on this, Cody. Says well, you tell me if you want me to answer first or you. But what role do you think progressive media, parentheses, TYT, etc., is playing in shaping the outcome of the general? So what role do you think progressive media is playing in shaping the outcome of the general? What?
I think, sadly, results so far have told me basically none.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
The results we've seen have told me for all of it very little, which is weird. But I mean, it's because not only Joe Biden win, Bernie Sanders endorsed him, right? So like, I don't see what the progressive media was pushing for that they got. Maybe again, kind of shifting the Overton window a bit, which is true, but that's kind of, I would say that is less of an election thing and more of just in general why you have media groups like that thing. But as far as the influence election, man, I mean, like, nothing they pushed for got passed or won. It seems to be very, very, very little.
Okay, so I will answer that question as well, and then we got a super chat. I think that one of the great things coronavirus has done is showed us how useless half of these progressive media outlets have been. Like in the past year, we've learned huge things. Disney has declared Vox literally worthless. On the last tax return, they said we've gotten nothing out of it. They're not making money. The HuffPost has been exposed as a massive money pit that has wasted tons of VC, venture capitalist money, and never pulled a profit. Literally, 2019 and 2020 will be an expose on the stupidity of progressive media. And in the mainstream media, the most progressive antagonistic guy, Jim Acosta, has been absolutely just, toasted, perceived as worthless.
Isn't a progressive.
The most progressive. I didn't say a progressive. I said the most progressive.
Okay,
Progressives worship that man every time he antagonizes Trump. Nate Johnson has a statement. Nate Johnson brings up Cardin. Every demographic has guns.
They do.
Yeah. At that point, though, it becomes a war of attrition. How many and what caliber?
It's actually a war of recruiting.
A war of recruitment? No, I'm saying once the fighting starts, since everybody has
once the
guns,
fighting starts, if the 30,
it would be a war of attrition.
If the 30 of you in your compound with your rifles hold out for the first day or so against the hordes, that'd be cool, I guess. But no, I really. Hey, ask the South in the Civil War what having all of the military experience and knowledge means. But having the tough guys against those northern soy boys, ask them how it worked. Ask them how that played out for them. Those farmers going to get those city slickers up north.
No, but that was manufacturing versus agricultural.
Ask them what they think of General Sherman. Ask them what they think of that guy, huh? Ask them about that soy boy from up north that came down. I mean, dude, it's just.
Oh, he wasn't a soy boy. He was a man. He had a beard.
I'm just trying to say, dude.
He had a real beard.
That's the perpetual narrative, right?
Look, I guarantee you right now, General Sherman was not a vegan. There's not a single vegan that is etched in Mount Rushmore. All right. That whole nonsense started later.
Humans didn't really have the luxury to be straight vegans in the Americas then.
Yeah.
A little bit, but just we relied on animals too much.
So Tomarilla brings up a point that soy man buns have guns too. Tamarilla, do you have a man bun? Actually, that sounds like a girl's name. Tamarilla. Is that a boy or a girl? I'm not sure, but Tamarilla makes good comments, so that's pretty funny. Soy boys with man buns have guns too. Manna King says Cardin cracks me up. Thank you. And Izzyland Beyond says that Cody, your Cardin impression needs some work. Ouch, rough, but that's funny.
It's not a good one.
Yeah.
Are we gonna go super chats?
We got more super chats. Hit it.
This one, $20 from James Abrams said, if I got food or water or masks, it's a lie about their shortages. Brokers are lowballing on rates and companies. Dude, I was at a warehouse in North Carolina 3 weeks ago, and they made me take the whole trailer to New Jersey. They don't want to pay. I mean, there's some shady stuff going on right now. I imagine being in the middle of tracking it. Did you get some shady stuff? Because, there's, first of all, I wonder how many people are just finding boxes of masks and gloves in warehouses somewhere and all of a sudden beating people's prices, right? I wonder how often we saw with Chicago. I think the city of Chicago was trying to buy masks and their comptroller had to get a cashier's check and drive to a McDonald's parking lot to buy them because somebody's like, I'll pay more now, cash. I mean, I can only imagine them showing up and like, actually, never mind, turn around. We don't need it because we have a better... Oof, that's crazy, man. I feel for it.
Dude. Okay, so I'm typing this out right now, and I'm sending it to myself in an email because the second you email something, it's copyrighted, not trademarked, but it's copyrighted, and nobody can steal your ID. So it's steal your ID idea. It was really common back in the day before you could email yourself a script to timestamp it, that you would actually send yourself a script. So the post office would show the timestamp on the piece of paper so you could prove that I had this idea then. So I just wrote this down while you were talking with your good little rant, but I've got an idea for a movie, Cody, and nobody can steal it now because I have just sent it to myself. But dude, what if you had like a sequel? They made Speed 2 already, but what if you had a threequel to Speed?
I think there was like a straight to DVD third Speed movie.
Okay, we'll make it a fourth. It'll be like Speed. It'll be separate from Speed.
Maybe there wasn't.
But what if there's this guy, the lone truck driver, last of the freelancers, didn't know what was in his load, but with pandemic breaking out, he had the last trailer of masks, and his hometown needed them. But the gangs wanted them. One man with one truck making it home. The Masked Rider. You know, like, what if we had a story of like the truck driver who's got a load of masks and pandemic breaks out and everybody wants him and they figure out who's got him, and now like the black market hunters are after him, the government's after him, but he's got to make it back home before plague breaks out in his hometown.
Seen Speed?
The original with Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about it?
Do you know what it's about?
Yeah, it's about the bus that couldn't stop or else it blows up.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
but
it can't, no, it can't, not that it can't
so it doesn't
stop.
have to be the exact same premise.
Well, I'm just saying, I would say the only thing in Speed that makes it a unique film is that there's a bus that can't go beneath 50 miles an hour or else it explodes. That's like the movie. You remove that from the movie, it's just about like a bomber who blows up Jeff Bridges, right? It's Jeff Bridges that gets blown up in Speed, I think. Great cast, by the way, the first Speed film.
Okay, look, Anthony Raimundo Barron.
Keanu Reeves. Who played the bad guy in Speed, the bomber?
Dude, I don't know. It's
the
been
guy
too
who
long.
played the photographer in Apocalypse Now.
Oh, jeez, man. So you go from the 80s movie reference, the late 80s, early 90s movie reference,
That's a bigger. Anyway,
to like
him
the 70s
and Jeff
movie
Bridges.
reference.
I think that was a great cast. Really weird. Speed starts off with, I don't think I was the same movie recently. It starts off with like a really kind of bad taste and dated reference to terrorists. Like, it's like they have like a terrorist who's gonna blow up a building, but he looks like a sheik. I don't know. It was a really, really weird scene. It's just jarring to watch it outside of the early 90s.
So like John Gonzalez just joined in. He says, I just joined. Azrael says cringe. And then John Gonzalez says, WTF is going on? What the hell's going on? Sounds stupid as hell. I wouldn't watch, says Emperor Xanders. But Derailed to the T points out that Cardin's got a good movie trailer voice. And Y Bancraft gave some stage direction that you really could have helped out with the fader that you have on the video mixer, but you didn't. The screen blacks out multiple times and ends in a coming soon. You know what I'm saying? And Emerald Miner points out that we got to cast James or Fred. I think that's true. James Abrams or Fred the Felon would have to be at least cameoed. And
Dennis, it is Dennis Hopper that I was thinking of.
It's Dennis Hopper.
Great American actor. Great American actor, Mr. Hopper.
So, anyway, Tom Morilla points out that Keanu did pitch a Speed 3, but maybe your rework, the execs will greenlight LOL. That's true.
I think I did find a little bit of evidence that the Speed 3 has been discussed because Speed 2 did not have Keanu Reeves in it, and Speed 2 had Willem Dafoe in it, and Speed 2 was way crazier, way over the top. Speed 2 was like I don't want to say like one of those comedy action movies, but it was like, dude,
where it didn't take itself seriously.
Like the cruise ship like goes on a cool special effects scene, but the cruise ship like runs into a city. I don't know why we're talking about the Speed series, but I loved the first Speed movie as a kid. I always did. It's funny. Keanu Reeves has always been an actor that I liked throughout my entire life. There was maybe the mid 2000s when he wasn't really making movies I liked because I didn't love the Matrix sequels, but aside from that, like. Love the Bill and Ted stuff he did. I love the Point Break, one of my all-time favorite movies. Speed,
Point Break,
a great movie. Yeah,
Point Break's one of your all-time favorites?
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Dude, that's one of my dad's all-time favorites.
It's a very good movie. I have not seen the remake, but why would you remake Speed? It was like they remade Ben-Hur, and I watched Ben-Hur again over Easter, right? And it was just like, why did they remake this movie? It's like one of the classic all-time great films. Like you could watch it today and it's just fine. Like remake movies that sucked. Remake the Blade. They didn't even suck, but remake the Blade movies.
Did you see the
CGI.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake?
Another one makes no sense. It's like, yeah, I did see the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and this is basically the same movie. It's the worst example is the Psycho remake, which is like basically the most pointless film ever.
It wasn't the Psycho remake literally shot for shot?
Like probably 90%. Yeah, like a lot of like the same.
Yeah,
scenes,
I think the guy bragged
vocal.
that it was a shot for shot remake.
It's like, oh, it's very,
which is really weird to me.
Okay, well, anyway, aside from John Wick, the John Wick series are really good too.
Oh, dude, I am a slut for the John Wick series. I've introduced at least 2 or 3 friends to John Wick, and every single time I do it, I agree to watch them all with them. So I've consumed each one of the John Wick movies a solid 3 or 4 times.
They're good movies.
And I can't say that I have actually feel bad about that. And I know that a lot of people call that fluff cinema, but you know what? That's it's good stuff.
They're good action
If it
movies.
makes your heart pound and your blood boil and your heart race, then it's good, man. It's good. That's all that matters. So
right,
I see you pulling up something crazy. What is this?
I want to play a little bit of Who's That Pokemon.
Who's that Pokemon?
So without looking at this person's head, who is this? It's probably been spoiled for a lot of you already. But without looking at this, American politician, right? I mean,
Jeez, with a naval jacket on with a gold button?
Yeah, it's not a Dutch baseball player. It's a American politician.
Looks like a golfer who was forced
based
to wear
only
surgical
on
gloves.
their standing. Who is that?
Dude, I don't know.
You can't tell. I could tell in a heartbeat.
Well, no, I already saw it
Oh,
when
okay.
you were pulling it up. But I'm just saying, like,
Okay,
if I'm being
we'll run
honest
for
with
another
myself,
second.
I wouldn't have guessed it's the person
Really?
whose face I saw.
I knew it immediately.
No.
I
Okay,
knew
well,
it
we'll give it a
immediately.
second. I want to see if people in the chat know who it is.
Let's take the
Hold
lead.
on. So Azrael says Wick is fun cinema. Yeah, it's good stuff. Modern Grindhouse, baby.
They're just good movies.
Classic movie
Just
remakes
good
are a
action
tragedy. In many cases they are, but no, sometimes they're great and sometimes they're better than the originals. Like, let's be honest, sometimes there are ones that are better than the originals. Classic movie remakes are a tragedy. Expectations too high, so they are destined to be disappointing. I could see that, Alan. I could see that.
Well, but it's just
So Andrew
remaking-
Yang's hologram says Ted Cruz. Y-Band Craft says Ted Cruz. Emerald Miner says Ted Cruz. How did you guys all know that? You guys saw this picture already.
Dude, that's
you
obvious.
saw the meme on the internet.
Ted Cruz. Actually, I'll show you the meme probably people had seen.
No, dude, there's no way this many people knew it was Ted Cruz just from the picture.
Ted Cruz
How do you
stands like
know?
this all the time. I'll show you right now.
That is such an awkward, weird stance.
I have. That's why I recognized it. I have seen this picture for what, like 5 years now. Oh, that's a weird edit. This is not the best edit of it, but that's how he's standing in the buying delegates meme, and I just always remember him standing like this, oddly. So I know that's Ted Cruz. This is a weird edit. I'm trying to find a better, less ridiculous edit than this one, but that's where I saw him standing like that for so long. Here we go. Here's a. See, look, that's how he stands. He always stands like that. I've seen that picture memed for 5 years now, I guess. So
He always stands weird like that?
I don't know about always, but he's the only one I see with
his like palms backwards and his front of his hands forwards. He looks like he's a gangster that's like about to fight in the 90s.
It's just weird. It's a unique. I'll say one thing, man. It definitely, like I said, you can play Who's That Pokemon with him. It's unique. You know it's Ted Cruz when you see it. Like, I guess once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's just such an awkward, weird little pose he has. There was a video posted, something about like, coronavirus relief in Texas or something like that. And I happened to just scroll really quickly. I'm like, oh my God, it's Ted Cruz, isn't it? It's the only person who stands like that. And it was very, very, policeman. That's what someone said. He stands like he's a policeman. That's interesting.
Yeah, but see, policemen stand strange because they've got the bulletproof vest underneath. He doesn't have the bulletproof vest. He's got a tummy that he's got a... I got to tell you, as much as I'm a conservative guy that really likes a lot of his tax ideas, I've never been a big, huge Ted Cruz fan. My parents loved Ted Cruz, and I know Glenn Beck was a diehard Ted Cruz stan, but Ted Cruz has always bothered me because he's got one of those smiles where when he smiles, it still looks like he's frowning, and he talks kind of weird.
It bothers me because he backed out of the game with Andrew Yang. He was supposed to play Andrew Yang in game 1 and never played. I'm assuming it was Ted Cruz, not Andrew, because I feel like why would Andrew Yang back out? Ted Cruz probably backed. Look at him. Look at this Trump. Think he can beat Andrew Yang in game basketball? I don't think so.
Yeah, so Anthony Raimundo Barron. Anthony Raimundo Barron. In 15 years of life, I grew up watching the era of action movies. Dude, Cody, what's one of your favorite films? I think it's a good time to bust out the poster right now.
Oh, I think
I'm going to bust it out. I got it.
Sure.
Where is it, Cody?
Well, that's a you question. Boom. I consider myself a meme lord, but this is the first time I've seen this meme stay humble, I guess. Dude, trust me, don't feel bad. It's impossible. No one's seen all the memes. There's too many memes. There's too many memes. Whatever.
Dude, so we're starting a movie channel, and we're getting hit the super chat.
Oh yeah, of course.
James Abrams, man, rock on. This episode is brought to you by James Abrams. Yeah, brokers like Walmart, Amazon. Wenner Broker is a company that wants a driver of a diff company to go grab pickup and drop it off for a price. They are being cheap. Loads go for 1 to 6 plus per mile, so they're doing one for a $3 run. So they're getting lowballed, it looks like.
A lot of people, you know what? A lot of people make a lot of money. A lot of shysters make a lot of money during crises, and
or crises.
So I feel for all you truckers out there. They're probably screwing you guys so much. Oh, go here. Never mind. Sorry, you got beat, or do this for, I don't know. All right. That sucks, dude. But it's also cool seeing you guys out there because we definitely need truckers on the road right now, probably more than ever, because the only thing stopping riots probably is Amazon shipping still. So as long as people are still getting stuff to warehouses so Amazon can ship them out later, it's going to keep people at home.
Wow. So we're getting a lot of Fs in the chat. For what?
Oh, we disconnected for a few seconds.
Oh, bummer. That stinks. So anyway, Dustin says, screw the scam artists. Yeah, dude. Although, I don't know. I think justice has been swift for those few that have been caught.
There's a guy who tried to sell theoretical masks to the government.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which, is like...
what's weird is I got friends that are applying for movies now because part of the SBA loans are for production companies whose production has been stopped. And I know guys that are making just like movies off of SBA loans they know are going to get forgiven. As long as you spend 70% on payroll, like to your editors and your like everything like that.
That is Hollywood. Hollywood.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, dude, we could just take out a loan and make some awful movie and just write it off.
It's like, seriously.
That's awesome.
So I know dudes that are applying for SBA loans just to make a cheap, $150,000 action movie during coronavirus. But anyway, are we slow again? Oh, it's buffering right now. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. It's connection issues.
So Sahil Signorile has a question for you, Cody. Says, are you going to be playing WoW Classic during quarantine? They are going to be launching TBC Classic a year after Nax is out. Okay, I don't know what TBC Classic
I'll probably start playing after Burning Crusade comes out. Because when I played Vanilla WoW for maybe a month because I got WoW December of whenever, like right before Burning Crusade came out. So Burning Crusade really was the first WoW I played. So when Burning Crusade comes back out, I will definitely be playing Classic. Until then, I don't know. I don't really have the I don't have the patience for Classic because I don't really have I don't remember playing it. I remember playing Burning Crusade. I'll definitely be playing Burning Crusade. I was actually just thinking, it's ironic you brought that up. I know I'm rambling now, but it's ironic you brought that up. I was just thinking I don't know why. I was just remembering what it was like to make a Drawn Eye way back when Burning Crusade first came out and like how interesting and crazy the world was. Like Jewel, I'm like, what's Jewel crafting? So actually, you brought that up, but yeah, probably not until Burning Crusade. I just didn't have it was fun playing Classic, but Burning Crusade's really what I remember playing the most, so that's what I'm looking forward to playing the most. Also, some of my favorite parts about like Arena, I'm hoping they're adding Arena back. A lot of stuff like that's what I'm really looking forward to. Burning Crusade was a little bit different. It was actually, I don't know. I think it was my favorite transition from the expansions, though. I'll probably start playing less and less after that, but definitely during it.
So, Anthony Ramundo Barron has another interesting comment. By the way, guys, we're about to wrap it up here. So, if you got any more super chat questions you want to ask, make sure you get them out of your system right now. If you got any other regular questions you want to ask, make sure you throw it up in the chat right now. Anthony Ramundo Barron says something funny. He says Steven Seagal was what my parents let me watch on the TV, and in those Latin dubs. That's hilarious.
Oh, like Under Siege? That's a great... Dude,
like
Under Siege, speaking of, we're talking about Speed and Speed 2. Under Siege and Under Siege 2. I like those movies a lot. Under Siege, when I was a kid, one of my favorite movies. So are you talking about, like, Under Siege era Seagal? You're talking about, like... what is it? No, not Hard to Kill. Hard to Kill is Van Damme. The Seagal ones are like, oh my god, what was the great, like, Seeking Justice, and god, what were some of those? There was like an era of early Steven Seagal films. They have hilarious names. Like, I love him though. He was an interesting, kind of a weird guy in person. I think he's I think he's like like a volunteer police officer or I don't know.
Know.
I love the seeking justice. It's not Hard to Kill. Hard to Kill, I'm almost positive, is Jean-Claude Van Damme when he's in New Orleans and it's like they're trying to hunt him. I forgot. But anyway, those are cool. I'm a big fan. Humongous fan, though, of the first Under Siege film. I think it's a great movie.
Is that going to have to be on our list, dude?
I mean, I don't know. They'd be at the bottom. But, oh, by the way, big time shout out to Alfonso Aranzazu.
Aranzazu.
Thank you for pronouncing it correctly. $51 super chat. Thank you very much, man.
Siege.
What was the other funny one? Some of these names I love. There's Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, Out for Justice, Under Siege, On Deadly Ground. This is exactly the era of films I was thinking of because it's like they got progressively more and more and more intense until eventually, On Deadly Ground. And then, God, yeah, we are dropping. So have to drop. And then James Abrams, again, thank you very much, man. $20 super chat. And he says, I hate Amazon runs. They rush you to come. Pickup takes 2 hours to load. 50 to 100 miles empty to a 1,400-mile run due to the next day window to drop off. Even if that they make you late, you got to make up time. Hope the rate is good. But you know what, though? That's the Walmart Amazon model. Take it or leave it. We're the biggest game in town.
Yeah.
You want to work with us? Cool. You got a million guidelines and parameters. It sucks they do that to you, but...
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Hard to Kill was Seagal? Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, Hard to Kill. What was I thinking of? What was I thinking of with Jean-Claude Van Damme with Hard in the title? Were they trying to kill Jean-Claude Van Damme? Could anyone tell me what I was thinking of? He was trying to... he plays a French guy, but he's in Louisiana, and they're trying to kill him, and they're, like, chasing him down, and... Oh, Hard Target. I was thinking of Hard Target. That was the JCVD film I was thinking of. So I apologize for confusing Hard to Kill and Hard Target. That was my bad. Yeah. But it also looks like the stream is held together by duct tape right now, guys. So probably have to be signing off.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, this is awesome. This has been totally cool. One of our best hangouts in a while. Absolutely enjoyed today's stream. Let me see here. Make sure, if you haven't yet, please smash the like button. We only got 40 likes right now, but there was 160 people watching a second ago. So please make sure you like us before you go. If you haven't had a chance yet to join the channel, make sure you join. It's cheap, only $5 a month, and we love our members. Got some hilarious comments here. Emily Kingsley says we need PSP merchandise like coffee mugs, shirts, etc. Hey, Emily, if you didn't get your hat yet, send your address to problemsolverpolitics@gmail.com.
Yeah, coffee mugs probably, if we do it.
And
it'll be
yeah,
next. That'll be the next
we
one.
unloaded 100 hats. We unloaded 100 hats over last year. So we're wondering what our next bit of merch should be.
Coffee mugs.
Cody wants coffee mugs. I could see coffee mugs working. I was thinking mouse pads. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But anyway, you guys are awesome. This is Problem Solver Politics. See you in the next video.